Hey, welcome back to another episode for Life for Living Well. My name is Richard, and before I dive into the episode for this week, the topic that I'm looking into this week, I do like to say, if you'd like to know what the Life for Living Well do as a community, you can check it out on our website at www.lifeforlivingwell.com. Once again, my name is Richard, so let's dive into it. So try and reduce the time we spend on the podcast. So this week, the topic that I'm looking at is all I call power of increment. And this particular habit or action is something that I use a lot in my own personal life, and I've observed, reading and observing many people that are close or direct, or even people that are far away from me, and see how they manage to deal with things in their life one by one. Hopefully, if you already embrace these habits, I want to say well done and congratulations. If it's something that's totally new to you, I hope by the time we're finishing this podcast, we might be able to get one or two things from it. So let's dive in now. Power of increment. So Mariel-Hemmingway once said, she quoted and said, "I think that growth and spiritual awareness come in slow increments. Sometimes you don't know it happening." And she's right. If you kind of think about it, that many changes that happen in our life, some of them are not a big bang changes. It's something that takes a little while, gradually, and it's like a joint of so many points. But what I find fascinating these days is because our attention is so limited and we become very impatient, we are quickly to jump or start new things without finishing the one that we're already doing or what, and we just get distracted. But when you actually practice power of increment, you no longer focus on the result, the process becoming part of your journey. Because one Chinese philosopher once said that a good traveler has no destination. And the irony of that is, if your aim is to explore things, you don't predefine what should be the outcome of your journey. So let's continue. So for a real change to happen in life, you need to be ready to embrace the power of increments. And the question is why we don't actually practice this. And I actually believe that this starts from home, because as a child, your parent probably want you to evolve or get involved in so many different things. And breaking things down to the smallest portion is not thing that come naturally unless you are developing these skills yourself. And they can't give what they don't have themselves. So there's a time when a big bang change happens and flash across the news channel like a winning big lottery. You see, someone that been doing 9-to-5 jobs and always complaining that money is the problem. Actually, income might be their problem, not necessarily the money. Because if you now go and look for the money that caused the problem, it doesn't solve the problem. It might just be what you spend is higher than what you earn. So, number two, maybe the logical thing is to do is to reduce what you spend while increasing what you earn. and then that solves the problem of money. So the idea of radical change happening suddenly is not something common to 95% of the population, and the real true change is something that comes incremental. For some reason, society don't like to teach us this. So this week, what are we plan to learn? We're going to see how to use the power of increments. What are the benefits people do not talk about often that you find when you start deploying and exercising incremental into your approach to life. Okay, so I'm going to share a personal experience here, which I don't normally do in some of the podcasts that I've been involved with often. Okay, today, a few years ago, I traveled to a city of London for a meeting. While I was waiting for a time to pass before the meeting started, I stopped in the high street shop. There's a little supermarket. It's one of these high brand supermarket called Tesco. So I stopped to pick an item, and while in the entrance of the shop, there was an homeless and a beggar man sitting in front of the shop. They were just waiting for the drop from Good Samaritan. So this homeless man, he was so charming, polite, and I was caught by his first impression that he shows. So after a while, he said, "Hello, young man, how are you? You look really great." I was really dressed up for the meeting because he's also a potential client for me. So I thank him for complimentary to my outlook. So he then asked me for a favor. What was there? He asked for a bottle of water. He even asked me that if I don't mind, he would appreciate if I can get him a bottle of water, and he particularly tell me what type of water he would prefer. I think one of these sparkling water. I don't remember the name. And he said it only costs 50p. So in my mind, I do not see the deal in that. So I bought one for him, which actually cost me £1.45p. So in the shop, I couldn't find any bottled water or sparkling water on the price that he gave me for 50p. So when I came out, I handed back the bottle of water to the homeless man. He was grateful and thankful. As I was about to leave, he asked if I had a loose change of £5 in my wallet. At this stage, I realized the power of incremental request for a favor. I looked at him, smiled, and I said no, then walked away. This experience and many of similar kind have taught me the power of increment. This principle has embedded into my relationship to others. So when I first meet people, I don't quickly invest a lot of my time into them. I wanted to get to know them more deeper than the surface level that we meet, maybe activities that we share, but I want to know them beyond that. I wanted to know what driven them as individuals. I wanted to know their character. I wanted to know how they handle the life challenges. So I use this power of increment into so many other areas, whether solving the problems. If I'm looking to solve a particular problem, I don't focus on the end result alone. I focus on the process. And I tend to break things down to the smallest of the smallest portions. And I tend to set a priority, set a deadline to each of these portions that are breaking down. And I tend to tackle the most difficult one out of it. And little by little, the whole picture, the whole image begin to unravel. But if I decided that I wanted to clean my apartment on weekend on Saturday, sometimes I might get lost in my mind, not knowing where to start. Because should I start in one particular room? Should I start in the living room? Should I start in the kitchen? Should I start in the bathroom? Should I start in the entrance room? Then one thought will come to my head, just start somewhere. So I pick one way. Before I know it, I've already moved to a different part of the apartment. Also, when I want to develop a new habit, I don't try to make change happen on a speed, but I'm also willing to be more incremental the way I follow the habits, become more persistent, and I become, if I can only just spend 10 minutes instead of 1 hour, I'm going to spend 10 minutes. I'd rather do it than don't do it at all. The same thing with hobby. The same thing with business and investment. I don't just dive into it big bang. I take a baby step, and the baby step become adult step, and the adult step become a wise person steps. The same thing in developing career. Our inability to break the task or go down to the smallest unit is the major factor why many will give up a good project before its completion and focus their attention on something totally different. The alternative is to break it down to smallest units, which is achievable with minimal resources available to you. Like I said, it is important to know how to embrace the increment into our own life. It is Chinese philosopher that once said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a one step. But what has happened today is someone doesn't want to take a first step, they just want to jump to the end. And what I always find out with people like this is they think that they need a lot to be able to handle the last journey that they arrive or the end goal. They miss the opportunity. Take for example, someone that appreciates his own opinion, his own thinking, his own wants more than any other thing. It is someone that has to develop a tolerance of others, because there's so many views in the world. There's so many people with different ideas how what should work. So for you to have an opinion, like Buddha said, you go around and hurt more people with your opinion, because the people that you are professing your opinion upon, they also have an opinion. So being incremental will help us to get big things done or achieve big things in our life. And that's why that most people that do well with money or build the wealth, they will tell you very sure that you need patience, you need time, you need plan, you need focus, and you need to be increment. So take for example, if you just pay yourself 10% of your income every month, you pay yourself first before you pay anyone every month. What do you think is going to happen to that even in 1 year's time? It's going to grow up. It's going to better financially, money-wise, than where you are 12 months earlier. And if you're smart, you could take that pot of money and invest it into things that will be paying more dividend on top of it. You make your profit, make more profit for you. So, in pursue your dreams and goals, become incremental if you do want to see real progress. Most people want to change behavior that is handicap them, but after a few days, what happens? They give up and return to old habits. Instead of focusing on 1 day, 1 week, a month, and progress for years. So what will happen is, it is always better to take a baby step when you are doing something for the first time. I don't know, if you are trying to let go a bad habit that you have come to realize, it is important to be compassionate to yourself first and to pick yourself up every time you're down and start again. If you are the kind of person which I could fall into, that you binge listening and watching development video blog or podcast, what happens is not just to cut it off straight away, because you might end up watching it more, is to take a baby step. If you spend 2 hours a day doing that, maybe you wanted to reduce it to 45 minutes until you can also reduce 45 minutes to 30 minutes. But if you just say, okay, that's it, you make it possible for you to actually spend more time doing the same thing that you don't want to do. So being incremental would encourage you to be persistently working on your behavior that does not serve you. And what happens? You're able to replace it with a good one. You become compassionate when you are doing this, even when it's tough. You keep going and patient with yourself and others. As we come into the end of the podcast for this week, there are many areas where incremental approach could be a productive and helpful tool to pursue your goals and dreams. In areas such as relationships, debt repayment, savings, and increased investment. There's no doubt in my mind that embracing habit of increment will make a positive change in your own life. So I'm going to leave this podcast with a Chinese philosopher that said, 1,000 journeys start with a step. So a journey of 1,000 miles just requires a one step, and it's no longer 1,000 miles anymore. So I hope this podcast helps someone. If you like to reach out and ask questions, just drop me a message on hello@lifeforlivingway.com, or you can find out more with contact form on our website at www.lifeforlivingway.com. Until we meet again next week, please stay safe. Ciao.